Opinion warning. If you can't handle opinion, you're on the wrong video. Geeks, nerds, gamers, and trolls. This is an MMOBomb top 10 video. I am, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the Noobfridge, Troy Blackburn. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 10 things I believe every MMO should be doing. I just want to note along the way, you're going to be seeing some B-roll of games from first looks that MMOBomb has done here recently over the past few months. Some of those I will mention specifically relate to the topic that I'm talking about. Some of them do not, so don't read too much into the footage that you're watching. Some of them I just needed some B-roll, so I used some recent first look footage that we used. So without further ado, let's get started on top 10 things that I believe every MMO should be doing now. Number 10 is a topic that is near and dear to my heart and is going to be important to a lot of you guys, I believe, too, because it affects us in nearly every game, and that's cash shops. But more specifically, cash shops in games that have a sub. Whether it's optional or mandatory, a lot of sub-based games, if not all sub-based games at this point, including World of Warcraft even, has some form of cash shop. Now, I don't believe that cash shops should exist in sub-based games, but we're going to get a little more specific than that. We're going to talk about the ones who sell hardcore convenience items, and those items are the result of needing to have convenience that they've created the inconvenience for. Especially for games that you're paying a sub. If it's an optional sub, when you start paying that sub, you ought to eliminate these inconveniences immediately with that sub, not additional purchase within the cash shop. Also, if you have a mandatory sub, as we talked about, personal opinion, I don't think you should have a cash shop at all if you're requiring a mandatory sub. But if you do have a cash shop, it should be the most cosmetics-only cash shop to ever exist in the history of cosmetics-only cash shops. You should not be selling any inconvenience. You should not be selling any convenience for the inconvenience you create at all whatsoever. Unfortunately, too many games do that. Perfect World is notorious for their cash shops. World of Warcraft, of course, sells mounts and other items in their cash shop. If you've got a sub, you should not be having cash shops, but if you're going to have cash shops, because we as the consumer have sort of allowed the cash shop to sort of make its way into all of our games, buying these conveniences for inconveniences they've created, that crap has got to stop. And we as the consumers need to put our wallets on the line and say, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. My number 9 is very much about me. I love playing dress up in MMOs. I think more MMOs should have customization options within the game. Things like wardrobe functions, more cosmetics that can be gotten within the game. If you're gonna have cosmetics in your cash shop, I hate the rotating cash shops where there's like 1 or 2 items in there. Let me look around, see if you've got something, if you've ever created something that I want to purchase. If you're a free-to-play game, if you're a sub-based game, obviously we just talked about, I don't like a cash shop at all. But either way, whether it's in-game or cash shop, if you're a completely free-to-play game, I want more customization options. I want more wardrobe systems. I want to be able to customize what my weapons look like. I want to be able to customize what my clothes look like. I want more freedom to customize what my character looks like in-game. Especially if you're a sub-based game, I should be able to do all this for free with my subscription. But either way, I want more customization. I love playing Barbie, love playing dress up in MMOs. I know. It's something that I spend a lot of time on though. So this is a big, this is what Troy likes kind of deal. But this is my list, so I can put what I want to on there. More customization, please. I like to play with the way that my characters look. Number 8 on my list is eliminating RNG in your gear grinds. I hate the fact that we go into different games and we have fight bosses over and over and over and keep not getting whatever item we're looking for. Now this will go a little bit into my next entry, number 7, which we'll talk about here momentarily. But something like Star Wars The Old Republic right now, they say in the next expansion they're eliminating a lot of the RNG parts of the gear grind. They say that you're going to be able to go chase your specific piece of gear and upgrade that piece of gear as you go. Now how that's going to work out in the long run, we still have yet to see. It's an expansion. It's been on the PTR a little bit, but the expansion goes live here in a couple of weeks as of this recording, so it'll be interesting to see how that is going forward. But going in and trying over and over and over and over and never getting that one piece that you need to finish out a set that you've already RNG grinded for, it's just creating artificial grind, artificial time spent, where you should be creating more compelling content for us to take place in, or create a series of events that we have to participate in order to get the item that we know we're going to get at the end of this series of events. Please, can we cut back on, if not eliminate, RNG gear drops in games? It's getting out of hand. It's not fun. Nobody actually likes that. And eliminating RNG gear grinds leads into my number 7, which is make crafting relevant. So many games promise this, that at the end game, crafting is going to be important. You're going to be max level crafting. You're going to have to be max level crafting if you want the best gear. And it never turns out to be that way. New World is the latest example of that, where, oh, crafting is important, and to an extent, crafting is important, but not anywhere near to what they said it was going to be. You can craft some in-game gear, but it's all about that RNG gear grind. It's all about hitting those dungeons and looking for those upgrades for pieces of gear. It's not about what you crafted. At the end of the day, you can craft yourself some good gear, but that's not what the in-game gearing is about. It's about raising that number in the dungeons, out in the Merc Guard runs. All that RNG that we just talked about is not fun. That's what that became. We have really got to get to games that express more honestly what their crafting is going to be, and have them step up and say, you know what, we said the crafting is going to be important, the crafting is going to be the in-game gear. Let's make it that way. That is the in-game gear. The crafting is everything you need. Your crafters are super important. And if you don't want to craft, you just go out and you make the money and you buy it from the crafters. Or you go get some of the parts and you still hire a crafter for a smaller fee to craft it for you. There are ways for other people who don't want to do all that crafting to still get their gear just like they would, and then they can go run their dungeons and get different rewards, get cosmetics, get the pieces they need to have these things crafted. But crafting should be way more important in games, and I wish more games would make it so. Number 6 is going to be a little controversial for you. I believe that all MMOs should have scaling, as in if you're max level and you go back to a lower level zone, you should be scaled down. But I also believe that while you're there and you're doing things within that lower level zone, you should be getting items that are appropriate to your level. A lot of games do scaling up and down. A lot of games provide loot for in-game raiders. But once you scale down to the lower level, you're getting gear for that lower level, or you're getting stuff that is technically max level gear, but it's more like the low-end max level gear instead of the item level of gear that you're actually rocking and using right now. If you're gonna scale me and let me go back, which is a thing that I really like, then we should be at least giving me rewards that are very appropriate. So for not only my level, but whatever gear score or where I'm at in the gearing process. Speaking of going back to lower level zones and scaling, I think they should give max level players more reasons to go back to some of the original zones with new content. Not just go back to scale down and do the stuff at the level that you would have been at the time that you have done it, but new content that revisits some of these old zones. You've got these great big large open zones, and some games do this, but other games don't do this at all. Star Wars: The Old Republic is an example that I would use, where I wish they would do this more. They've got a couple examples where you go back to planets, but you don't usually go back to the same zone within that planet. It's sort of a new zone within that planet. I wish more games would send you back and give you new things to do within those old zones and let you revisit those zones. You've got this big world built. Let me run around in it. New World is pretty good about this. When you're running around in whatever level zones you're in, there's still stuff to do at max level and low level. There's areas you got to be careful of whenever you're in low level zones, and there's reasons to go back when you're max level. It's one of the things that New World got right. Number 4 is a personal pet peeve of mine. It's mob tagging in MMOs. Too many games still do this. The first person to get a little bit of damage is the only person who gets credit for killing the mob. Everybody else has to sit around and wait for the respawn. That is stupid. I know in the upcoming expansion, Star Wars The Old Republic is eliminating this, and other games have slowly started eliminating it, but any time that is left in an MMO, it just immediately is a turnoff for me. It's such a dated mechanic that makes no sense whatsoever. As long as everybody's participating in the kill, everybody should get credit. Sometimes somebody will tag a mob and try to steal it from you on purpose and then won't party up with you or anything like that to help you get credit for a world boss or any other mob out in the world that has tagging on it. So let's just eliminate that altogether in all MMOs. Let's quit that. If you help kill something, you get credit for it. Let's all quit standing around waiting for respawns. You want to know what my favorite thing in Guild Wars 2 is? My number 3 is everything in Guild Wars 2 as far as achievements and currencies are account based, and that is freaking fantastic. I love it. Mwah to them. I think maybe the worst thing in the world back in the day, especially Wrath of the Lich King, was World of Warcraft reputation grinds, and you had to do it for hours, days, weeks, and months on each individual character you wanted to play in the game, and it was terrible. Guild Wars 2 bypasses all this. Anytime you want to go hunt achievements, it's on your account, so all of your characters have it. Anytime you want to go grind out a currency, it's on your account. All your characters have access to it. It's a fantastic way to do things, makes things a lot more convenient for the player, makes them want to make more alts and spend more time in your game because everything they do is accessible to any other character they want to play on. Much more fun, much more convenient. That's my number 3. Number 2 is something that we can all agree on, I believe, and that is better communication from developers would be fantastic. Thank you. I believe all of us have had an instance where there was concern, a widespread concern through the community about a game, and there was zero response from the developer. That's frustrating. We're concerned. We want to know what's going on. Why isn't this being addressed? It's a big problem. Especially when it's a big, huge, legitimate problem. New World has had this problem occasionally sometimes where a big problem would occur within the game, big issues, and we would not get anything from them for days at a time until finally they would be like, oh, yeah, we're looking into that. Well, that would have been nice to know. Also, roadmaps of the future. It's nice to know where your game is going to go, that there is a long-term version of your game out there, at least in the heads of the developers. It'd be nice for them to share that with us more often. Know where we're going and know what the game's going to be in the future, so the way you know what you've got to look forward to, or whether or not what they're planning for in the future maybe isn't for you, and you can go ahead and move on to something else, or you're going to hang out because you know what's coming is going to be super exciting, so you're just going to keep playing your game and wait for the next thing to happen. It's super nice to know when that thing is going to happen, though, or at least what it's going to be. Please communicate with us more, developers. And finally, we've reached number 1. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. Number 1 is a problem that I recently ran into, but happens all the time in MMOs. It's a pretty standard thing, and that is developers do not bring the fun early. Go ahead and bring us the fun. Let us see what the game is going to be, what the exciting elements of the game are. Mortal Online 2 is a game that I just did a first look for, and people are all over me. Oh, it gets better, it gets better, it gets better. I can't help it. The beginning's horrible. It's terrible. And that's not the only game that does that. That's not just picking on Mortal Online 2. Me personally, it's not as bad as Mortal Online 2, obviously, but the Final Fantasy XIV vanilla experience is a slog that I can't get through, no matter how many times people tell me that it gets better at Heaven's Ward, it gets better at the next expansion, just keep going, it gets better, it gets better. How many times have you heard that in an MMO? The real game is the end game, or just you got to get through the leveling process because it gets better. It gets better. Why isn't it good? Why doesn't it start out good? Why isn't it good from the beginning? Why can't it just be fun from the moment I log in to make me go, ooh, I like this game, this is super exciting? Too few games do that. Please, developers, bring the fun early in your game and don't take it away from us. Don't start us at max level, give us all these cool abilities to use, and then that's the trope, right? And then all of a sudden we've got amnesia, or we go back in time and we don't have any of those abilities, and then it's a slog. No, let us have a little bit of fun and just keep building on that fun from the moment we start your game. Can we kill the slog and the grind fest? Let's have some fun in these MMOs. That would be fantastic. Thank you. So that's it. That's 10 things that I believe every MMO should be doing right now. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, don't forget to subscribe. Head over to mmobomb.com to check out all the latest news and information on everything multiplayer online. I've been the man, the myth, the legend, the Noobfridge, Troy Blyburn. You can follow me on Twitter at Noobfridge. Thank you so much for watching. This top 10 list is done. I am out.